The structure of nuclear deterrence was foreseeable for decades. A bipolar system dominated by the US and the USSR was developed during the Cold War. Washington mostly refocused its strategy on Russia, a significant nuclear peer, following the fall of the USSR. Competition management was aided by the ceilings and transparency measures established by arms reduction treaties, especially New START. But that is the end of that age. Today, US military strategists must contend with a completely different strategic reality. Simultaneous rivalry with China and Russia, two nuclear-armed nations with divergent doctrines, growing capabilities, and distinct strategic goals. As a result, the US is undertaking one of the most extensive nuclear modernization initiatives in its history, which includes updating warheads, replacing delivery systems, strengthening command infrastructure, and adjusting deterrence theory for a multipolar nuclear era. Let's break down each dimension in depth. Number 8. The two-peers nuclear reality. The formation of a two-peer nuclear environment is the most important strategic change. Deterrence considerations were mostly bilateral during the Cold War. The main emphasis of American nuclear planning, even after the fall of the Soviet Union, was Russia's arsenal. China had what it called a minimum deterrent posture for decades, with a lesser force meant only to ensure retaliation and not parity. That presumption is no longer valid. China is strengthening early warning systems, developing submarine capabilities, and quickly growing its missile silos. This points to a shift away from limited deterrence and toward a more advanced, potentially larger, and more resilient arsenal. This presents a doctrinal and quantitative challenge to US planners. Two sophisticated nuclear rivals must now be taken into consideration for deterrence. They may coordinate, or at the very least, act concurrently. This makes strategic signaling, force sizing, and readiness levels more difficult. Uncertainty is more important than just numbers. Furthermore, uncertainty destabilizes. Number 7. Replacing the land-based missile force. Minuteman III missiles have been the mainstay of America's land-based nuclear triad since the 1970s. Despite numerous upgrades, these systems are getting older. The LGM-35 Sentinel program is now replacing them. This is more than just a replacement missile. The whole ground-based nuclear infrastructure, including command centers, subterranean cabling, launch facilities, and digital security architecture, is being completely redesigned. One strategic function of the land-based ICBM force is to make enemy attack planning more difficult. To deactivate them, an enemy would have to hit hundreds of hardened silos at once, which is practically unachievable without inciting full-scale retaliation. Critics contend that at a time of hypersonics and precision missiles, fixed silos may be susceptible. Proponents argue that by creating a formidable targeting challenge, their dispersed nature enhances deterrence. This leg of the triad will continue to be credible until the 2070s because to the Sentinel program. Number 6. The submarine-based deterrent. Because of its resilience, the sea-based leg is frequently referred to as the backbone of deterrence. Ballistic missile submarines are very hard to detect because they work in silence beneath the ocean's surface. The Columbia-class submarines will replace the US's Ohio-class fleet. With life-of-ship nuclear reactors that decrease maintenance downtime and improve patrol consistency, these submarines are built to operate more silently than any of their predecessors. Why is this important? Because assured second strike capability, or the assurance that retribution is still conceivable even after absorbing a nuclear attack, is ultimately what deterrence is based on. That assurance comes from submarines. Adversaries must presume that at least some US submarines are undiscovered and able to react in an emergency. Strategic stability is based on that premise. Deterrence breaks down in the absence of second strike forces that can be sustained. Number 5. The air leg and strategic flexibility. Strategic bombers are used in the third leg of the triad. Bombers, as opposed to missiles, can be clearly used in emergency situations to deliver signals without escalation right away. The next development of this capability is the new B-21 Raider. The B-21 is built to function in highly contested airspace conditions and has long-range penetration capabilities, open architecture technologies, and sophisticated stealth features. Political flexibility is offered by bombers. To reassure allies, they might be forward deployed. Prior to the release of weapons, they can be recalled. They have both conventional and nuclear functions. By offering calibrated reaction options, which ballistic missiles cannot provide once launched, this dual capability nature enhances deterrent messaging. Number 4. Modernizing warheads and infrastructure. Delivery methods are not the main aspect of modernization. Additionally, the United States is renovating production facilities that are decades old, updating warhead life extension programs, and enhancing safety measures. A large number of the nuclear enterprise's components were constructed during the Cold War and have been retained instead of replaced. Enhancing this infrastructure guarantees dependability, lowers technological risk, and maintains the industrial basis required for long-term arsenal maintenance. A key component of deterrence is reliability. Deterrence loses credibility if enemies question the efficacy of the system. Upkeep and assurance are just as important to modernization as growth. Number 3. Nuclear command, control, and communications. NC3. Command and control is arguably the most important but least obvious component of modernization. The President's authority to issue directives in any situation, including cyber attacks, anti-satellite strikes, or electromagnetic disruption, is essential to nuclear deterrence. To guarantee redundancy and resilience, the United States is modernizing its satellite networks, fortified communication systems, and secure digital infrastructure. Command survivability is a top concern in the current environment, as space-based threats and cyber warfare are developing quickly. Credibility of deterrence declines in the absence of trustworthy communication. Number 2. The arms control breakdown. A strategic void is created when significant weapons control agreements expire or are suspended. Strategic warheads and delivery vehicles between the United States and Russia were subject to restrictions and transparency under New START. The mutual visibility decreases in the absence of such frameworks. Suspicion and worst-case planning rise as a result. Due in large part to differences in strategic posture and arsenal size, attempts to include China in trilateral arms control talks have encountered opposition. A more competitive environment that is based on competence rather than negotiated ceilings may result from the lack of defined limitations. Number 1. The cost and political debate. It is estimated that modernizing the entire nuclear sector will take decades and hundreds of billions of dollars. Proponents contend that this expenditure is crucial for national security and only makes up a small portion of overall defense budget. Critics argue that funds may be allocated to domestic priorities, traditional deterrent, or developing technologies. This argument raises more general issues. What level of deterrence is sufficient? And how can economic responsibility and nuclear credibility are balanced? For decades, U.S. strategy will be shaped by these questions. The Cold War had rules, hotlines, bilateral treaties, clear adversaries. The emerging nuclear order is more fragmented. Multiple nuclear states are modernizing simultaneously. Technologies such as hypersonics, cyber warfare, and anti-satellite systems introduce new variables. The U.S. modernization program reflects an attempt to adapt to that complexity. Whether it stabilizes or accelerates competition depends on diplomacy, signaling discipline, and strategic restraint. Deterrence is designed to prevent war, but its effectiveness relies on perception, communication, and trust, all of which are under strain. If you want deeper breakdowns like this where we go beyond headlines and unpack the strategy behind global power shifts, make sure you like this video and subscribe. Because the nuclear balance is evolving quietly, and understanding it now might be the key to understanding the next global crisis. See you in the next one.